Want to get that message out to everybody that it's never too late and you're never too old. Moving parts don't rust. Baby steps. Take it in baby steps, especially as you're older. But I would always start with a goal of getting better at walking and make it fun. The secret is you have to commit. You have to commit to it and make it a habit. 80% of it is mental. They say at 50, it's all downhill. It doesn't have to be, not at all.
Dancer, actor, swimmer, and the oldest person to complete an obstacle on the American Ninja Warrior. Our guest today on the Settle or Beware podcast is Ginny Maccoll, who's going to be talking to us about being the strongest old lady on your block. So, welcome, Ginny, ma'am, and over to you. Why don't you begin by telling us a little bit about your personal health and well-being story, and how is it that you've come so far and doing these amazing things right now?
Well, I must say it's been a bit of a surprise to myself because I never knew that you could get stronger as you aged. And so when I saw my daughter, who is frequently on American Ninja Warrior, her name is Jessie Graff, and she's been in 10 seasons. And she looked so beautiful, and she was inspiring young girls that they could get strong as well. And I looked at it and thought, I want to get strong. And you have to understand, I didn't grow up. We weren't encouraged to lift weights. We weren't encouraged in that capacity. And it wasn't looked favorably upon you to get muscles because it was considered bulky. And so, that was kind of the norm and what you're brought up culturally to believe. But in front of my eyes, I saw my daughter and I thought it looked wonderful. So she was a picture of health and health. And so I asked her what I should do. Now I'm like 62 or 63 years old at this point. And she gave me some ideas and she mentioned pull-ups. Now, pull-ups are probably one of the hardest things to do, especially when I had no upper body strength. So my background was as a dancer. And as a dancer, I really didn't use the upper body as much. It was more of a lengthening of muscles and a framing of the body or telling a tale through dance. So I tried to do a pull-up and it wasn't happening very well. And I did video a little bit of what I was doing. I got the bar that you put between your door frame, and I had handles on it, and I was pulling up. And so I sent a video to my daughter, and she goes, "Oh, I'm delighted that you're working to do this, but that's not a pull-up. A pull-up is actually raising your chin above the bar and going straight down." And so I went, okay, I'm going to a personal trainer because I can't do this by myself. Right. And I went to a personal trainer and we worked on all the muscles. We worked on the back, the chest, the arms, the legs, abs. And it took me an entire year to do one pull-up. But I was determined. I had a goal of 5 pull-ups. So someone asked me the other day, how long did it take me to get those 5 pull-ups? And I'm sure it was over, completely, it was over 2 years. Right. So now I can do 15 to 17. So my goal is 20 now. I try to make attainable goals because if you make it too far, you just sometimes can't reach it. But if you make it right outside your fingertips, then it's more reachable. Absolutely. So that's how I came into Ninja Warrior. And the Ninja Warrior producers thought it would be a great idea to do a mother-daughter segment. I wasn't on the show, but I did a segment with my daughter where we were working out together, a good mother-daughter feel, bonding. And that kind of was encouraging to apply for the show. So the next year, I went, okay, this is crazy, but okay, because I really couldn't do very much, but you needed personality and skill.
Right.
So I submitted for it, showing I had to put in a video, 3-minute video, and so I got the call. Then I went, oh dear, what am I going to do now? And my daughter said, you better get to a competition. Now, in the United States, I don't know, do you have ninja gyms in India?
Not really.
Not really. Okay, well, they're not close to
Something
me either.
similar to the concept, but not exactly what you've been showing.
Okay, okay. Well, I didn't have anything close to me either. So I had to travel 2.5, 3 hours to get to a ninja gym. And I did my first one right before I went on American Ninja Warrior, which was pretty crazy. You think you can do anything, and then you get on set and you see the first obstacle, and it was like, oh, what did I do?
Right.
And they counted me down 3, 2, 1, go. And I hit the first step and I went to the second step and slipped and fell right into the water. And that moment I was in shock. Like, how could this happen? I've let down all the seniors, all the women, all the family members, everybody I let down. And I don't know how it happened. And it was devastating. But the reason I'm telling you that story is because it took me a long time to get out of that syndrome of, well, I'm going to give up, because I'd come so far. And this is what my daughter said to me too, helping me get through this devastation was, you can go back home and not worry about it anymore and lead a nice life. But look how far you've come. Don't let one fall define you. And it stuck with me. And I saw all the athletes going through it. They didn't show me, thank goodness. And I saw them going through this first obstacle with ease. And I'm like, it just hurt all over again the whole season. I was like, oh, what happened? So I practiced and practiced and practiced. But the story is you don't want to give up just because you can't get one pull up. You don't want to stop going forward because of a fall or a fail. So it's getting up again that's really the story. And you're going to fall down. You're going to make some mistakes. But you keep going through it and you will get better. And I always say baby steps. Take it in baby steps, especially as you're older. The 15-year-olds, they go flying through everything. But as you're older, you want to have good warm up and good recovery. So I think that kind of summarizes the ninja journey, as it will. I still do competitions. I had one last weekend and I'll have one this weekend. So that, interestingly enough, led me to get a Guinness Book of World Records
Oh
of
wow,
being the oldest female ninja competitor in the world,
that's
which
amazing.
it is amazing. I mean, getting old has been has been a wonderful journey. I love my life right now. I love feeling stronger. It gives me a confidence that I never had before, the strength, and it also gives so many health benefits. So I would say this is the best time of my life.
That's amazing, and it's really a pleasure watching you live your life day in and out with so much energy and breaking new barriers, challenging yourself every single day. It's just amazing to see someone in their 70s do this and lead by example for everyone. So we're really glad to have you here today. And something that you said earlier is that you never imagined yourself doing all of this at this age. When you were in your when you were in your 20s or 30s, what was it like in your mind? What did you think you would be like when you would turn 60 or 70? What was it like back then for you?
Well, certainly not being on American Ninja Warrior or being a Guinness record holder. That was not in my dreams. I always wanted to be an actor. And I started out as a dancer. So dancing was my real passion. And it brought me from where I lived to New York City. And I gave again another goal of 3 to 5 years because everybody says you're not going to, you can't make that. Nobody makes it in the acting field when you go in there. Maybe one out of 200,000 or something makes it. So, but I thought, you got to give it a good try. And I thought 3 to 5 years was a good goal. And that's where I'm very goal oriented. It helps me move to the next level. So I was a professional dancer in New York for about 10 years and got married and had 2 children and lived in the city. But I unfortunately ended up getting a divorce and had to move out of the city and give up acting. But my goal was always to get back to acting. From dance, I had gone into acting. I did a Broadway show, which was the top of the top. And I did TV commercials at that point. But I had to leave all that. And I always said, I will get back to acting. That is my goal in life. But a lot of time went by. I was in radio for 20 years. And when I retired, that was my first thing, go back to acting. So I got my pictures and resumes. Now, my agent told me to go gray, which was actually, it was kind of frightening because, you always think that you're going to look older, but it was very liberating at the same time. This is me now, and I'm happy with me. So I auditioned and ended up doing a couple of movies, actually, some really nice movies that are out there, which was different from New York. And from there, that's when I was starting to watch my daughter in American Ninja Warrior. And so that's when that whole realm started opening up. I also had always wanted to swim. So I did a lot of swimming and I joined a club and started competing regionally and nationally now. So that's a great exercise that I love that you can do in your 80s and 90s and beyond. When I go to the Senior Olympics, or they call them the Senior Games, I see women and men that are 80, 90, that can't get up on the block really without help, but they get there and they dive in, they do flip turns, they do long distance when they're 100. And it's absolutely amazing. There's so much that we can do as we age that we don't even know we can do. And we just have to expand our belief in what our possibilities and what we can do. I think that's so important. I want to get that message out to everybody that it's never too late and you're never too old. It may not be as extreme as American Ninja Warrior or a Ninja Warrior kind of competition, but there's so many different outlets to keep active and keep moving. I know it gets painful when you're older sometimes with arthritis, but what do they say? Moving parts don't rust. So if you keep those fingers moving, even though you have arthritis, that's important. If you get stronger, you're going to have the confidence. You're going to be able to open jars. And if you keep your heart healthy, and the heart is a muscle. So to keep your heart healthy with doing your cardio, and you can start if you have a lot of people who want to start but just don't. I would say get a buddy, get a friend, and walk. Just start walking. And then expand how long you walk, and then maybe do more speed walking and get the heart rate up. I kind of have a visual of the blood going faster and keeping that plaque and those bad things from building up in your arteries. If you keep that, the heart healthy. So I know that's a big disease in your area as well as across the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's a statistic. They say that 85% of people have some kind of plaque buildup and they have no symptoms.
True.
So I think that's important. And I mentioned earlier the health benefits. I have found that by lifting weights, which is how I got stronger, I lift weights about 3 times a week. I was able to reverse osteopenia. Do you know what osteopenia
Right.
is?
Yes.
Okay. Well, when I was diagnosed with osteopenia, I didn't even know what it was. I'm like, what do I do? What is that? And she says, it's just part of the aging process. But when I started lifting weights, I was able to reverse it back to normal. So do people know that? I mean, if you know that at your age and younger, wouldn't it be smart to start working so that you don't ever get osteopenia? Sometimes people are going to get it no matter what. They just are prone to it. But if you could possibly turn that around, wouldn't you try? So
Absolutely.
there are a lot of health benefits. I have the same thing too. I have heart disease in my family. So my mother had 11 stents and my brother had 5 stents. You know what stents are, right? And they
Yes.
expand. So if you have any blockages, they, it's
Right.
amazing. It's amazing what they do. Um, so I was told I had 50 to 70% blockage in my carotid, and that terrified me. I only heard 70. And they sent me to a vascular surgeon, and he said, no, it's fine. I mean, they overread it, the report, it's this, that, and the other. And I said, well, when do you do something? How do you turn this around? And he said, well, we only do it when it's 80%. And I went, wow, you just wait around until it gets worse? And that's when I read more about, diet and if that could help anything.
Right.
And I went on a very strict diet for 2 years, went back to the vascular surgeon, and they were now reading 40%,
Wow.
which they say is a normal aging process. I mean, we can always try to fight it all, but I thought that was great. And I asked, do you think that had to do with diet or, it was a different machine or it was where she was actually reading it? And it was probably a combination of all of the three. So I'll never know if the diet was a huge change or not, but I made that part of my life modified.
Right. Of course, and one of the biggest takeaways from your story is that you've made such major changes about your health and well-being at such a later stage, like after 60s, because that is somewhere where people just accept whatever health condition they have, that they have to just, I'm 60, what can I do about it? I just have to live with it for the next, until I die or something like that, right? So that's when we actually give up and accept that, okay, this is a part of me now. And it's very tough, especially for people who have not had a very active background, like they haven't been into sports or anything else. It's quite difficult for such people to then just immediately start. But then again, what you talk about is you never entered a gym before this, and you never took up a sport until you were 63, and is when you first entered the gym, which is like brilliant. And looking at the things that you're doing right now, when you just started at 63, that's just amazing, right? And I want to know, what were your initial goals like in your mind? I mean, I know that pull-ups was one of the things that you were working on, but when you started talking with a trainer, what was your initial goal like, say, for the next 3 months or so? What do you think is people in the 60s starting out for the first time, entering the gym for the first time, what should their goals look like for them, that it doesn't get too overwhelming, or it's probably, it doesn't get them being bored at some point?
I think it's hard to answer that question because you never know what the background or medical history is of somebody. But I would always start with a goal of getting better at walking and make it fun. I think that's important too. Having a buddy is going to, you have to show up. They're at the door going, okay, let's go. And that helps motivate you to go. but you want to keep improving, but you don't want to do it to the point where your muscles are telling you, my ankle hurts or this hurts or my knee, those kind of things. So you have to really listen to your body. And you have to warm up. If you're older, well, everybody should, but particularly when you're older, you need to warm up, and then you need to warm up the muscles, and then you need to stretch afterwards. I try to think of strengthening all the joints, because those are the ones, the hip, the shoulder, the knee, the ankles, those are the problem areas. So if you strengthen the muscles around that, but you have to go slow. So I would say you want to do cardio, starting out maybe 3 to 4 times a week, and you want to do strength training with the help of a personal trainer, because when you start at 60, you may not know what you're doing. And it's too easy to hurt yourself or start too heavy or be doing it wrong or looking down or your knees are turning in, with someone there to show you how to do it properly. And so I would start with a very light weight and do maybe, several sets of like a 2-pound weight, where you do lateral raises or, in front or bicep curls. Again, it's important to do it properly.
Right.
And when you can do 15 very easily with a 2-pound, you might start with a 3-pound. I would prefer, and I still am with a trainer, because I just don't trust myself when it comes to that, to the whole world of lifting. So I would say the goals should be small. When you get to, raising a 2-pound weight is very simple. Then you add to it and maybe not do 15, do 12 until it feels better. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, it does. No, because that's true. Even people, whether they are in their 60s or in their 30s, starting out for the first time, we have really big goals, right? Like, I mean, just take newer resolutions for that matter. That we start off with really big goals, and we start off with 3 different activities in the first week itself, and then we are completely exhausted by it within 2 weeks, and
Yes.
is why we can't stay consistent throughout, right? So that makes so much sense. And another aspect of this is, like, you also must have heard, our audience must have heard, so many people talk about how new movement training is one of the best ways, easiest ways available to us to rewire our brain, to change the way we feel, our emotional health, our mental health, and our well-being in general. So what did it change for you when you started a new physical training at the age of 63, versus what you were doing before? Were there some changes in your mood, in your overall energy, and your outlook to life that changed when you started doing this new physical training at that age?
Well, the confidence, number one. But as I felt stronger, it took me 7 months until someone said to me, "You look like you're more toned. You have better definition right now." And that was such a sense of wanting to keep going. And so I would say, little things, like I'd open a door and it was like, it flew open. I'm like, whoa, I'm getting strong. Simple things like that. Opening a jar. My husband would say, "Here, muscles, you do this." And, those kind of things, as you get older, it's so hard to open jars. So I found all those little things like feeling really good. And of course, I told you about the bone density turning, and it weightlifting is still difficult for me because I have such a dance background, where I want to, go in first position and do a plie and a releve, where it's a different language, and I want to make everything pretty. Um, and this is like, we're always contracting your muscle. You're contracting and tightening the muscle. So it was a very different feeling to suddenly start having an upper body strength. And it was not only the feedback I was getting from people, but it was the ability to do things and feel better and be happier and sleep better. But at the same time, I had a hard time getting enough protein. Like I was getting too much protein, and then I was getting those bars, and the bars have so much sugar in them, the health
True.
bars and such. And that didn't work, even though they say, oh, 9 grams of protein or 15 grams, and I'd look, it's like 33 of sugar, and I'm like, well, this isn't working. So finding a good balance of of how much protein I was taking in and how much water I was taking in was a difficult thing. But the other good thing about going forward was you want to eat healthier, because what you're putting into your body is the energy that you've got to go through the day. So they go hand in hand. So I try to get enough protein of my body weight.
Right.
And the water is very difficult for me because I have to get, at least the 8 glasses, but that's hard. I fight that all the time. But the sleep is better, health is better, life is better. The thing is, it's so hard. It's so hard to get people to understand, the result, because they want instant. They want, okay, I've been doing this for 3 weeks, but I haven't lost a pound, or whatever the answer is. And it's hard to just keep going. But the secret is you have to commit. You have to commit to it and make it a habit. And that may mean the night before getting your gym clothes ready, that you're going to, seeing that they're right there, ahead of time what you're going to do, and you can't say no. Life happens where you can't do it at the same time every day, but you can still do it 3 times a week, when it
Right.
comes to walking, or 4 times a week, whatever you're used to. And another element is just making it fun. When we gather together, we have like, 5 of us that are way over 50, I guess 60 and above. And we work on balance. Balance is a huge thing. If you lose your balance, you could fall,
That
you
was
could break a
exactly
hip.
my next question, in fact, because one of the very specific aspect of training for people over 60 is balance. I mean, forget training, because I have my grandmother. I see her, and she is in her early 60s right now, and for her, even at this age, it's difficult to even stand up on her own or even walk a little bit just to the front door, right? Because she does not have any background of physical training or sports, nothing like that all her life, right? So that in itself becomes such a difficult aspect to work on, because from what I saw in your videos, the kind of workouts you do, the first thing that comes to my mind is balance. When I imagine a 60, 70 year old going through those workouts, what would be some of your tips to start working on balance, in particular when someone is just starting out with this?
Well, I would say to get next to a counter, something that's, waist high, and try to balance on one foot for a couple of seconds, and then build that up. Then, and also do the second foot, but always make sure that you're safely on something that if you lose your balance, you can hold on to. So I do that a lot. I will do it. Of course, you can start out just simply there. Then you can go on, I say releve, on your toes, and try to hold it there. And, maybe lift your hands up a bit, but be ready to catch yourself. So I would start small like that. And then, you graduate to where you get on do you know what a basu ball is? It's like a
Yes.
half ball.
Yes.
And, you get on that because it's wobbly and it's good for your ankles. And of course, I'm graduating faster than somebody who has never done anything for a while, but just
Right.
starting. Used to have it written down that, when you're 50, you should be able to do, 60 seconds or 40 seconds or something. When you're 60, you should be able to do a certain amount of seconds. When you're 70, I think it was 10 seconds. That's not very much. So that would be a goal to go. Let me see if I can hold on one foot for 10 seconds.
Right.
That's where I'd start.
Right, that makes so much sense, because I mean, if someone, when they reach that point in life, and they find themselves not having that balance in their walk, it's just immediately replaced with a walker or a support, and that's how the next decade goes by, right? Like, I mean, there's not much effort put into regaining that balance, or doing some simple things like these, because these are some things that anyone can do just 2 times a day, right? Like when they are just standing up, going to the counter, they can do it very easily. So that makes so much sense, and there's some great insights for us. And I'm sure that us grandchildren can make the effort to work with our grandparents, with our parents, and start doing these things with them, because that's a great way to bond as well. So thank you for sharing these with us. And my last question to you is about your consistency, because now it's gonna be almost a decade for you, right? Like since you got into strength training and weight training, how has it been that you've been so consistent with it? Because at, I see a lot of people lose interest in it after the first couple of years, especially if they are in the later years of their life, and just finding that one thing to be consistent with gets quite difficult, especially for someone. If I give you a background, they've had a background of doing a corporate job, doing one thing for years, and then again in the later years, if they are asked to pick one thing that you would do for the next 10 years, they would be exhausted by just the thought of it. So how is it that you've been so consistent with it over the years, and what is it that you do to be in that game?
Well, I think I have a variety of things that I do. So, I, I have some variation. It's not one thing that I do. I do swim, I do acting, I do yoga, and I do strength training, and then I compete. Now, compete is a whole different thing because it gives me a goal. For swimming, it's a internal goal that I want to beat my last record. So it's not me against the other people. It's me against, finding the new things. And I take swimming because a lot of people can do that. But there's so many techniques that you can work on, and it's endurance. And that's my cardio. This morning I swam for an hour, just constantly. Um, so I have a variation of things that I do. And I give myself goals, simple goals, but it's always trying to move forward. I do feel that I'd like to add something similar to things, though, like rock climbing. I'd like to do a little bit more of that. So it's bringing new things into your life as well. You don't have to stick to something for 10 years.
True.
You may be, okay, this is a little dangerous and, it's a little risky. So I think I want to move to something a little bit less that way, like swimming, let's say.
Right.
So there's so many things out there that are available to people now. What's the number one sport that you have there?
In
Do
general,
you like
I
in
mean,
just general?
India's just big on cricket. I mean, we are big cricket
Ah,
fans.
of course. Of course. Right, 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 right. Right. So, yeah, I mean, we have something called the Senior Olympics, I said to you before, Senior Games. And
Right.
they're in their senior years and they're playing basketball and pickleball and tennis and tons of different things.
Right.
They have walking, but I think the secret is having fun with it, making games and challenges out of it. I like to have, if you're a bike rider, take a different route. Um, but I always like having somebody with me too, because it's like, well, we can stop and have a cup of coffee. We can make it fun that way.
True.
There are about 5 of us, I told you, that get together each week at a
Right.
friend's house who has built the obstacles. I have seen people who had no balance at all, and they're using a stick to like do about a small balance beam this high,
Right.
and they have come like so far. You can get better at that, and I think that's one of the biggest things. And
Absolutely.
doing things outside is important too. The sunshine, getting the water, getting the sleep, all those things I think just make. We have cycles. Like last week, I was exhausted. I don't know why. It was rainy. It was something that I was like, what is wrong with me? Maybe it. maybe I'm getting ready to stop some of this stuff. But then today, I got a good night's sleep and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go. So you just don't let the negativity or we, it's so much mental. I know
True.
80% of it is mental, like getting up and getting through the day. Like getting up sometimes is like hard to do, but once you do it and you know what you want to do, you've got that already set. Make it a habit. Be consistent. Don't let anything stop you, and don't let your negative thoughts um, take over. You have to fight those all the time.
Absolutely. And I
So,
mean,
did I answer your question?
yes, yes, you did. That was amazing. And you've given us so many of these amazing insights. And it's honestly, I forgot to tell you this, but it's unbelievable to think that you are someone in your 70s, the energy that you have for your life, and, just everything. It's just so heartwarming. And it's amazing to see someone do all of these things. And, we have, thankfully, we're living in an era where I feel like slowly we are moving away from the fear of growing older because of so many of these health experts, because of biohacking, because of people like you who are breaking these barriers. So right, we are getting a little away from the fear of growing older. But if anything, then today, after listening to this episode, I'm sure that we are definitely going to be excited about being 60-year-old women. Like, we're not going to be afraid of it, because we have so many more decades to prep for that, right? Like, I mean, if you can do it at 63, like day one, if your day one is at 63, then we can just do so many things right away, and there's just no need to think that your life is going to be over at, like, 15, 16. You're not going to be
Yeah.
doing this.
I mean, they have something here too where they say at 50, it's all downhill. It doesn't have to be, not at all. We have to get
Exactly.
rid of those stereotypes that with or cultural norms that we have gotten in, so like being too bulky. You know, you have to you have to be an advocate for yourself, for your health, for your longevity. I think it was our Abe Lincoln in the United States who said, "It's not the years in your life; it's the life in your years." And you
Absolutely.
want to have that quality of life for as long as possible. We don't want to be in walkers and canes if we don't have to be. So get up and get moving.
Absolutely. These were some amazing insights. Thank you for sharing this with us. And this brings us to the end of the episode today. As we conclude, do you have any last messages or thoughts to leave us with?
Definitely, you're never too old, and it's never too late. It's never too late to chase a dream. People in their 80s and 90s have been proven to get stronger by doing resistance with bands, resistance training. So that's why I say it's never too late. But you can do more than you think you can, and just take baby steps and make attainable goals. Age and experience shouldn't be barriers. It's just part of the journey. Enjoy the process. Don't worry about the gold at the end. Worry about the process of improving yourself.
That was a lovely message. Thank you so much, Ginny ma'am, for being here today. It was really incredible having you, and this is gonna inspire so many 60-year-old women and even more to, get stronger, but also us in our 20s and our 30s to get more excited about the years to come and just, start preparing for them from
Yes.
right now. So that's really
Yes.
amazing.
Look at the possibilities. They're endless.
Absolutely. And your energy is just so amazing. I can feel it radiating through the laptop right now. So it's incredible to have you here today. Thank you for being so sweet, so humble, and for sharing all these
Thank
insights
you.
with us. We're really grateful to have you here today.
You're welcome. And thank you to your audience who listens. I really hope that somebody will take me up and get moving and make some great changes in their life.
Absolutely. And for the ones who'd like to reach out to you, who'd like to learn a lot more from you, see your journey closer, they will find the links in the description below. They can reach out to your Instagram and, see your more upcoming interviews and all the new barriers that you break that we can't wait to see, all the amazing things you're going to do in the years to come. So good luck to you and for your
Thank
upcoming
you so much.
challenges and your competitions. We really want to see you, do everything that you possibly want to.
We'll see how long we can keep this going.
Absolutely. That's it for today's episode. I am Sakshi Pawar and I'll be your host for the Settle or Beware podcast. So stay tuned while we bring more inspiring stories. You know the drill. Subscribe to the Settle or Be Better podcast, like, share, and comment on our videos. And oh, hit the bell icon because you don't want to miss the mind boggling health discussions we're about to bring for you. Why settle when you can be better?